Hello everyone, and welcome to this KBC Networks webinar. My name is Craig Kennedy, and I'm the Technical Solutions Architect for KBC EMEA region. With us today we have Janine Tucker, our Head of Marketing, and Luis Angulo, our Commercial Director. The three of us are going to be answering your questions in the chat window, so feel free to ask away. Or you can send us an email at emea@kbcnetworks.com and we'll answer that as well. So here in the UK, we are now into, I think, our 8th week of lockdown. Some of you are probably starting to see things ease up a little, but I think the transition to normality is going to be a lengthy process. However, during this period, I want to assure you that KBC Networks are still producing products, and shipments from our USA and China factories will continue as normal. And there's still selective stock available to ship from Spain, for those of you in Europe. You'll still be able to get support from the USA, UK, Spain, Dubai, Mexico, and China teams. And for those of you who don't know KBC well, KBC Networks has been trading globally now for just over 25 years. During this time, we've won notable awards, including the SIA Best Network Support Solution for our ThruLink hardware VPN, and more recently, the ASMAG Buyer's Choice Award for our eCopper, IP over coax, and UTP solutions. A system is only as good as the weakest link, and today's systems in security and IT need to be extremely robust to be able to deliver reliable connectivity with absolute security at all times. KBC Networks products are designed to meet these robust requirements, while at the same time offer a simpler solution that falls within the customer's budget. All of our products are industrial grade for use in harsh environments, with operational temperatures of -40 to +74 degrees. KBC Networks has 6 main product lines. All are industrial grade for use in harsh environments. First, we have our IP range, which includes our network switches, SFPs, and media converters. Then we have ThruLink, our hardware VPN solution with 4G capabilities, our high throughput wireless system, and our vast fiber optics portfolio for analog and IP signals, and our eCopper, IP over coax and UTP, and finally our remote power solutions. Now this webinar is all about our ThruLink product, and I hope to give you a good understanding of the product, why you would use it, and where and how to use it. If you have any questions during the presentation, post them in the chat window where hopefully myself, Louise, or Janine will be able to answer them, or alternatively just email them to emea@kbcnetworks.com. So what is ThruLink? ThruLink is an industrial grade hardware VPN. However, we've removed many of the typical complications associated with VPNs, and during this webinar, you'll see just how simple and flexible this solution actually is. Most of you are probably familiar with VPNs, but for those who aren't, in simple terms, a VPN or a virtual private network creates a safe and encrypted connection over a less secure network, typically the public internet. As the simple drawing illustrates, most common used VPNs involve the use of software connecting to a server. ThruLink is different. ThruLink is an end-to-end hardware VPN. It doesn't use any software. It was designed to make simple, secure, and reliable connectivity whilst offering a cost-effective solution. And it was for that reason ThruLink received the award for Best Network Support Solution from the SIA, the Security Industry Association, at ISC West in Las Vegas. As a hardware-only solution, you can use any IP-based device over any type of network with complete control of your systems and network. No software will generally mean less maintenance, less complicated setup, and therefore less cost. ThruLink uses a unique two-way authentication process that ensures all information is secure. And once the authentication is completed, the system will switch to your selected encryption cipher. AES, Blowfish, or Camellia are the 3 that we offer, and up to 256 bits. It's worth noting there is no option to turn off the encryption. It's always on at a minimum 128. And ThruLink won't communicate with any other VPN system, software or hardware, so you need a ThruLink at every location to ensure connectivity. And once you're connected to the ThruLink, all data is fully encrypted, making it essentially invisible across any network. So the hacker in this drawing can't see or access any of the information. Neither can the network providers. They don't see what you're sending or receiving. Governments, basically anyone not on the ThruLink sees nothing but encrypted traffic, which they can't decrypt. And ThruLink also has built-in systems to handle DDoS attacks. I'm sure you've come across or heard of DDoS attacks. Most systems, or many systems should I say, will crash under the stress of this type of attack, which essentially is bombarding a server or an IP address with constant requests. The system has to deal with those requests, and in doing so, it becomes overwhelmed and fails. But ThruLink has its own way of handling these attacks without crashing and without disconnecting. Now, because ThruLink is a hardware device, it is completely agnostic. This means you can connect absolutely any IP-based device to ThruLink, from a traffic control system and cameras to a smart television or MVRs. Being agnostic gives you the flexibility to install it in almost any scenario, as well as being able to use existing equipment already in place. It also offers the ability to create a wireless hotspot, which allows even greater flexibility for connectivity into the VPN. And using the right antennas, we've been able to achieve significant omnidirectional distances, whilst also ensuring greater security. Now, the wireless security on ThruLink, rather than being your standard WPA and WPA2, we're actually offering WPA3 levels of security, which essentially is up to 256-bit encryption. Now, it will switch down to support WPA2 and WPA as needed. And then lastly, there are still systems that make use of older style telemetry, such as RS-232 and 485 signals. ThruLink can also offer transmission of these signals through the same VPN system. And this has been used for traffic radar systems and some traffic signal systems. So what you have now is a secure VPN that you can take an analog telemetry system and pass it over the same VPN tunnel. One of the most common questions we get in regards to ThruLink is, how many cameras can I transmit? Or what sort of speed am I going to get? My answer is always the same. It all comes down to the maths. Although bandwidth is one of the most basic considerations, it is one of the most important considerations of any IP system. Today, we enjoy very high-speed broadband connections. Our 4G in some cases offers higher speeds than a broadband connection. And with 5G moving into place, speeds are only going to get faster as well as cheaper. Typically, when looking at ways of linking remote locations, there are 4 common considerations: leased lines, VSAT satellite links, standard broadband, and 4G networks, soon to be 5. I haven't included 5G in this because it's not widely available yet. A mixture of leased lines and VSAT are networks that can work from most remote locations, but these do come with higher installation, maintenance, and running costs when you compare them to a standard ADSL or cable connection. Today's faster and reliable broadband and 4G networks can provide the same connections at a fraction of the cost involved. And if you use ThruLink, you have the added benefits of a rugged device that requires next to no maintenance. So where you may already have a VSAT link, for example, banks, or a leased line linking multiple remote offices, you can and should consider using ThruLink to replace these and make use of the public networks, reduce costs, and at the same time gain on both speed and unrestricted device numbers and device types, because remember, you can put any device down ThruLink. This very simple illustration shows the 2 most common connection scenarios where ThruLink is used. We have a no infrastructure. So here we have no network at all. It could be a remote substation or a car park in the middle of nowhere, for example. We've used a 4G enabled ThruLink to provide the network connection. Very simple, and this is exactly what the drawing looks like. Or there's the existing infrastructure, which is on the right-hand side, in the form of a standard broadband connection, where we can use the standard ThruLink and simply tap into the existing network. We don't need to do any port forwarding here, so it's a nice and simple installation. There are actually 6 products available for this. We start off with our standard capacity, which has no 4G built into it and can offer up to 15 megabits per second and is designed to connect up to a standard DSL connection or a cable connection of some sort. And that unit is also available with a 4G embedded option. which is again 15 megabits per second, but it has a 4G option built into it. And then we have our standard plus, which is up to 30 megabits. Exactly the same two models are available as the standard capacity, but they have a higher throughput capability. So these can handle up to 30 megabits of traffic. And then we have our high capacity, which is a 1U rack mount unit. This is obviously designed to go into a cooled environment. So this would be in the control room or in the network area. And this can handle 100 megabits. And then a slightly higher version of that, which is a 200 megabits unit. They're very simple. They all come with two ports. One is a WAN, one is a LAN. The 4G ones obviously have a built-in antenna connection and a SIM slot. They will support any SIM provider. We've tested them in most countries of the world with no issues at all. And remember, you don't need a fixed IP either, but we're going to come on to that. Just to recap on why you would consider using ThruLink. You've got no licenses to worry about. There's no software. There's no centralized servers anywhere on the network. With no fixed public IPs, you have a nice, simple installation. And of course, we can support advanced networking. So we can integrate ThruLink into far more complicated layer 3 networks than typically used. Again, because there's no licensing and there's no software to worry about, there is no limitation on the number of devices. There's no limitation on the number of VPN tunnels that you can currently have on the network. We support root and bridge mode connections. The whole system is, of course, fully encrypted up to 256-bit. And of course, we have failover built in. So where you have a WAN and a 4G connection, we have failover options. And we support multicast and unicast traffic. A lot of VPNs currently don't support multicast traffic or struggle to support multicast traffic. Our system supports it straight out of the box. Of course, we have serial data transmission. So when you need serial data to work, we can do that too. And then we have Wi-Fi access, again, fully encrypted up to 256-bit. This is an industrial hardened unit, it's temperature hardened. So this is designed to go in these remote locations where you have a street cabinet. It doesn't require any maintenance. So you can plug this box in and leave it. You lose the 4G or you lose the DSL connection or you lose power. The system will automatically re-establish the connection for you. So you never have to go there and tell it to connect or power cycle the unit to get it to connect. Obviously, it has low CapEx and no OpEx at all. There are no operating costs because there's no licensing to worry about. And of course, it's a one-off purchase. You buy the boxes, you can use them for whatever you want. Now, a lot of other VPN systems, they require licenses, usually per user or per device. So if you need to expand, you then have to buy more licensing. Configuration of a lot of other VPNs, I've tried a few on my own and they can be a nightmare to configure. So we've gone past that as well. We don't have to worry about technically difficult configuration processes. A lot of VPNs are designed for data, so they don't offer any video optimization or variable MTUs. And remember, ThruLink has optimization for video using dynamically adjustable MTU systems. They might require some special software or special licensing. Often they do require a centralized server, and ThruLink, of course, doesn't require a centralized server, and there is limited number of connections on a lot of systems. ThruLink can support essentially millions of devices. It's all about bandwidth and throughput. The system itself can handle its numbers, so 30 megabits, for example, is your limitation. But if you're using an access control system, which is using 2 or 3 kilobits of data, then do the math and you can work out how many units you can have on a unit. I'm now going to take you through a few of our system and application designs. Some of these are real applications, but these are just to give you an idea of how ThruLink is being used and how it can be used. Because ThruLink fits into so many different types of situation, there isn't really any way to go over them all in this webinar. So we'll start by defining the more common reasons for using ThruLink. So typically remote sites with no infrastructure. This is a very common one. In the middle of nowhere, you have nothing there. You're going to have to use 4G. So we'd use the 4G enabled ThruLink, or remote sites with an infrastructure. So you might have a broadband connection. All we need to do is tap into it with as few complications as possible. Large corporate buildings or hospital environments where you need to send information through the building using the existing infrastructure, but it has to be secured from other departments. So ThruLink can operate over a LAN, providing the same secure channel, but through a local network rather than the internet. Many systems are still using VSAT and leased lines. Replacing these with our ThruLink and making use of a standard broadband or a 4G connection won't only save you money, but will also offer a significant increase in available bandwidth. Then you've got mobile. Because ThruLink operates over any 4G network, it is an ideal solution for public transport and emergency vehicles. And because it's agnostic, you don't need to replace what systems are already installed in those vehicles. All we do is we put a ThruLink in, connect it up to the existing system, and everything should work as it did before. But now they have access remotely. ThruLink can provide a secure link offering live data, video, and audio while the vehicle is moving. It's also perfect when you need a deployable system. So, for example, an outdoor music festival event or a construction site where you need to have a communication system for security, but it needs to be redeployable and movable. So using ThruLink, we've established that linking up remote locations can be a very simple task. This illustration is all about utilizing the available 4G networks. We've got police and emergency services all connected up to the same network. All vehicles equipped with the ThruLink will be able to communicate with any other vehicle within that network, as well as any fixed base stations there might be. It's also important to understand if we take a police car, it has various cameras already installed and a vehicle recording system. If we add ThruLink to that car and link it to the control room now have access to this video on demand as they need it. And if we add more cars with more ThruLink units, each car will also have the ability to view other cars' video because we create a meshing network. Remember, it's all about calculating how much bandwidth you have. ThruLink isn't limited to fixed locations. It can be mobile and it can be moving. So here we've taken a very basic design and expanded it to include multiple remote sites rather than just one. In this example, each site has a standard broadband connection. So you could be multiple remote offices for a company or petrol stations. We have multiple different systems running here, from cameras and phones, computers, data servers, all operating over the same ThruLink network. Then we add in 2 control rooms, both in remote locations, both with the ability to access any of the data, video and audio systems when they need to. And if one controller needs to relocate, he can actually take the equipment with him and regain access. ThruLink doesn't restrict what your systems can do and will always do its best to serve up the most available bandwidth whilst trying to alleviate jitter and packet loss with its dynamic MTU. But we can't create more bandwidth. So if you install an IP camera running at 10 megabits per second, but your actual broadband connection speed is 2 megabits per second, you are going to see jitter and you are going to see packet loss. We're actually looking at an application example. So we have a bank, and in this bank we have a countrywide network of remote ATMs, and at each ATM we have multiple cameras as well as a loudspeaker and a microphone. Now the remote ATMs, we use a 4G ThruLink, but where the ATM was tied to a branch or perhaps tied to another office or another building, you can use the existing broadband or connect up with another standard broadband connection and use the 4G as a failover option. So the broadband becomes the primary connection, and if the broadband fails, the 4G takes over and immediately reestablishes that connection. And once the system fixes itself, it'll switch back to the broadband connection. In this system, the control room has complete access to all the cameras at all the remote locations, as well as the two-way audio if needed. And the tamper alarms that were in place will work just as they did before using ThruLink. While the ATM data will instead automatically route to the ATM central server part of the network. And our advanced routing takes care of these paths. So ThruLink's advanced network feature allows us to have the security-related devices on one subnet and the ATM data on a second subnet, but both are flowing down the same VPN. This application would typically use a VSAT link for communications, which is okay for the ATM data, but the video would struggle because the bandwidth is very low. Unless, of course, you increase the bandwidth, but then you also increase the cost. So ThruLink simplifies the entire process. No expensive hardware or slow connection speeds, and simple installation. Here we have a multi-site, multi-system network. So here we're using a mixture of standard broadband, ADSL, fiber, cable, etc., as well as 4G. At each remote location, we might have cameras and access control, or a point of service system, ticket systems, speed cameras, it doesn't matter. all linked up to the same VPN network using multiple network providers. At each remote site, there remains no port forwarding, no fixed public IP addresses needed, and full access to all information on the network. This unique application was an interesting one. This is remote locations in the mountains around Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, with cameras and geotechnical devices. The idea was to allow monitoring of any potential flooding that could take place. If you look back several years ago, Jeddah had severe flooding caused by the water runoff from the surrounding mountain areas with no early warning. This system was put in place to try and give some indications of potential flooding, avoiding large-scale damage and saving lives. The geotechnical hardware monitors the groundwater levels, while the cameras provide a visual of the surrounding areas, all connected to a 4G ThruLink, sending the data back to the central server for analysis. So in this application, you can see any IP device will work. It doesn't have to be just cameras or access control. And just to say, this is a working system. And this example uses ThruLink, but has no video at all. This is a pure access control with integrated RFID and a key management system, all fully integrated into a single solution. Things to note in this system are that all three of these individual systems, though fully integrated, they all operate with their own specific IP ports. And the access control in particular uses more than 30 ports for a full operation. On top of this, it's all multicast. So it's a multicast system using probably around 35 to 40 ports in total. If you had to get this working over a public network, this system had to go on 4G because it had to be entirely separate from the rest of the networking. They also had to be able to reposition and move these devices as the site grows and expand on the number of locations. So using ThruLink, they had a single 4G unit with a fixed public IP address, which is located at the bottom of that drawing, whilst the clients all use a standard SIM without a fixed public IP address, using a low throughput, unlimited data package. Because we don't really need to worry about speed here, we just need to worry about data. In this scenario, because all of the units are 4G units, there is no firewall configuration to worry about. Once installed, the system will continue to operate all the time there is power and a 4G connection. A very simple solution that can allow this system to expand to any geographical location. Essentially, any location in the world this system can expand to. So you could take one of these small remote sites from wherever this might be, let's say it's in Spain, and you could take that unit and plug it in North America, and it would connect to the same network and establish a link with all of the units that you see here. It's that simple. Now we have a few short video clips. Some of you have probably seen these. Live video over 4G, no issues at all. We haven't changed anything in the system, so it's a low bandwidth system. And then moving to the bottom left, we have live video streaming in Qatar. Now you can see on that video, this is using Indigo Vision software, strangely enough with an individual on camera. 25 frames a second, 1080p, 2.2 megabits per second. That's a high throughput over 4G. You're seeing staggered video, not because of anything other than all the applications I'm running in the background, so I apologize for that. And then we move to the middle bottom, which is Milestone. Now, everyone knows what the Milestone system is. Again, we've integrated ThruLink into Milestone, so the left, top left, and bottom right are all localized cameras on the booth. The top right one is rotations of 3 cameras, one in a fixed location, which is the one you're seeing now, one in the UK, and one which is the streaming video on the Indigo Vision system on the left. So again, we're just showing multiple different systems. And then finally, we have Axis on the bottom right-hand side. So the system itself is capable of working with any software. It doesn't matter what the software is, and it doesn't matter what ports the software uses. There are no limitations. It will work with them all. Now, there are far too many places where ThruLink can be used to list them all. Here are just a few of them. Today, we have ThruLink installed in large-scale systems of 3,000 or more ThruLinks. These are growing in size all the time. Small town and city centre applications, police cars, patrol boats, and providing two-way video and audio for countrywide ambulance services. We also have several bank applications where ThruLink is being used for remote ATM machines, as well as the national infrastructure systems we have. But it's easier just to say this. if you need to get IP information from one or more locations to one or more other locations with no geographical limitations, or you need to send data with absolute security and without the worry that the data could be intercepted or the connection hacked, then ThruLink is the right and simplest solution. So the setup of ThruLink, I've said many times, it is a simple device to configure. I'm going to show you over the next few slides just how easy it is to configure. So here we have the configuration page. You can see settings like the GUI password, the GUI port, so you can change those, custom DNS information, traffic management, NTP time servers. There's a list of different functions and features. We're not going to go into those into too much detail. Today it's just about what do you need to do to get a link working. So ignore all of those settings and then look at the top. At the very top you have a hostname field. The first thing you need to do on a ThruLink is give it a host name. It needs to have a unique ID. You're on to the next page, which is the interfaces page. Now the interfaces page is all about the physical connections on the box itself. So not the virtual, the physical. We've got two a WAN and a LAN port and maybe a 4G connection. So on this one, the WAN interface is set to DHCP. The WAN is going to plug into a standard DSL router or a cable router of some sort, and it's going to get an IP address from that router automatically. Once it gets that IP address, it's automatically going to be connected to the internet in much the same way as your PC. And then we have the LAN interface. Now, we configure the LAN port. This is where we need a bit of planning in place. If you're using a ThruLink in root mode, then each ThruLink will have a unique individual subnet, much like you see here, 193.168.1.1. If you're in bridge mode, then the whole network is one subnet. So each ThruLink will have a unique IP within the same subnet. This unit, for example, could be 193.168.1.1 to 254. So you can see by the subnet mask, we've got 254 addresses we can use within this subnet. Then the next ThruLink would be 193.163.2.1. Again, the same number of addresses, but this time it's a separate network. Once you've set the LAN address, this then becomes the gateway address for all of the devices that you connect to it. There is a DHCP server built into each ThruLink, and you can see it here. It's enabled by default, and we start off with 5 IP addresses, but you can increase this if you need to. Finally, the encryption page. So this is where basically you would configure the actual connection to the server. So starting at the top, you have to enable it, set it to client. You're going to have a pre-shared key. That pre-shared key is going to be the same on all of your ThruLinks within this network. And then the remote host name. Now we talked about giving each unit a unique name, the host name. In here, you would put the host name of the server, and then remote connections would be the one fixed IP address or dynamic DNS address that you have for access to your server. And the rest of this, by default, to get a system working, you can leave the encryption as it is. Root mode, obviously, we're going to go into that at another point, and the port. So this is the communication port that ThruLink operates on. The server configuration, so this is what the server configuration page looks like. Put the pre-shared key in, you hit save update, and the server is going to sit there and listen and just wait for clients to try and authenticate and connect. So just to summarize on the ThruLink features, and there's a lot of features, a lot that we haven't even mentioned here. These are the more common ones. Always enabled encryption up to 256-bit with AES, Blowfish, and Camellia, tied in with our unique two-way authentication system, ensuring complete security at all times. No special skills needed to get a system operational. So no special skills needed to get a system operational. And with no need for a fixed IP on the client sites or port forwarding, you have a very simple installation process on the remote locations. No licensing or limitation on the number of concurrent tunnels. I do get asked that quite often, how many VPN tunnels can I have at the same time? There is no limit. You have complete flexibility to expand with any device at any time. ThruLink offers a secure network that has no size restrictions. Our embedded 4G option will allow you to replace VSAT links and lease lines with ease and provide your customers with a cost-effective alternative. Our ability to support multicast traffic as well as video optimization are features not often found on VPNs. And operating in a mesh network topology with failover feature and self-maintaining connectivity functions, your systems will be able to re-establish connections without the need to visit the site. And then lastly, our simplified advanced networking feature lets you expand into far more complex networks without the headache and worry. Just briefly to cover our warranties. We have specific warranties for each product family. Detailed terms and conditions information is available on our website, but basically switches and fiber products have a 5-year warranty. However, we do have many installations where products are still in operation 15 years later. For e-copper and media converters, it's 3 years and 2 years for our ThruLink, wireless and power products. If you have any questions or inquiries, you can send them to EMEA@kbcnetworks.com, or you can ask me if you've got my email address. I think that's pretty much it. We can return to you, we can help you with system design, and our tech support, of course, is always available. And we'll make this video available for you. Thank you very much.
Craig, I hope everyone can hear me, but I just wanted to say hello and let you know that we're open for any questions, and mention that I think it's probably easier to configure a ThruLink than a webinar from home. So hopefully you've all learned something, but feel free to email us at EMEA@kbcnetworks.com with any questions or any additional information you may need. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.